And then a jolt of news. Didn't expect this one. Matt Holliday resigned from. I'm going to term it this way. He really wasn't the bench coach yet, but he resigned as the Cardinals bench coach appointee. I'll leave it that way. It's not like they're playing baseball yet. They're not even at spring training. But Matt Holliday felt that family pull, and I guess he had to do some soul searching, and he realized he didn't want to be away from his wife Leslie and the kids. He's got another son who is well on the way of being one of the more impressive prospects in the major league draft. And I'm not sure which year he'll be eligible to be drafted, but the younger son is just as talented as the son that Jackson Holliday, who got drafted number 1 overall by the Orioles in the 2022 draft. And to be honest, Jim, I think I said this, and if I didn't say it, then shame on me, because I really did think this at the time. I was a little surprised, just a little, that he took the Cardinals bench coach job, because for the same reasons that he did not take it in 2021 when Oli Marmol was trying to put together his first staff before he named Skip Schumacher as the bench coach. Because there's a lot of phony balonies in sports, media included. I'm not going to take us out of it. But when Matt Holliday talks about his commitment to family and working with his sons to get them ready for a baseball draft or career, working with his brother at Oklahoma State, the head coach there, good program. Matt Holliday and Leslie have a wonderful marriage. He's truly a home guy. And being there for the kids is a legitimate, genuine feeling that he has. I was a little surprised. I was not surprised at all in 2021 when he declined the Cardinals' offer for those reasons. So I was a little bit surprised that he took it this year after Skip Schumacher left to become the manager of the Miami Marlins. I was a little surprised only because I knew he had the second boy priming up for his time as a potential high draft pick. So, it cracks me up, though, because as soon as this comes out, everybody's got a conspiracy theory,
Oh, yeah.
It can't just be that Matt Holliday, who is a 100% pure and genuine family man, still with relatively young children at home, thought about it, and it was gnawing at him, it was pulling on him, and he realized his heart should be at home. His heart was thinking about home and being at home and being there for his family. And true to his nature, he did what was really the right thing for him to do, because if he couldn't be totally committed to the bench coach job, it was because he wanted to be steadfast in his commitment to his family. And that is a 100% genuine thing. So I don't know why everyone's got to him and Mo, he was mad. They weren't spending money. Him and Oli must not like each other. Him and Oli are incredible friends. I listened to a podcast those two did together and their wives more than a year ago, and it was really amazing, really what a relationship they have and how close they are to each other. These guys are like brothers. So, yeah, no conspiracy theories. Get your head out of the freaking toilet, okay? Thank you. I respect Matt Holliday for what he did. It's a little awkward. And maybe if you want to criticize anything, but not in a really acerbic way, you could point out, well, maybe he should have thought about this longer before he took the job. However, part 2 is that Super Joe McEwen's coming home, who was really one of the most popular Cardinals players during the Tony La Russa era, because he played every position. He was smart as could be, worked his tail off, diving all over the place. And I like Joe McEwen a lot, and he has more than paid his dues to be a major league bench coach. For that matter, to become a manager. He's been coaching in the major leagues for the White Sox for 15 seasons. And before that, He had coached in the minor leagues for several years. So he's well prepared and well qualified for this. And I think this will work out just fine. I know, Joe McEwen and Ollie know each other. Ollie knows everybody. They know each other. Joe McEwen gets the Cardinal thing. He gets Ollie. I think he'll fit right in. And smart guy. He works and works and works. Like when he was with Chicago all those years, man, worked and worked and worked and worked with the players any way he could do to help them. He was all over it all the time and much beloved in the south side of Chicago. So it certainly was an interesting move or an interesting day, I should say. But, yes, it was a surprise. But when you reflect on it, probably shouldn't have been all that surprising given, Matt Holliday's commitment to his family. And as little as a year ago, he really didn't want, about 14 months ago, he didn't want the job to begin with because of the family. So, and if you can plug in Joe McEwen, I think you're doing okay. I think they'll be okay in that exchange. What do you think, Jim?
Okay, yes, 100%. There's nothing wrong with Joe McEwen at all. In fact, he'll be an asset to the coaching staff. As far as the Holliday thing, I'm like you people. Just quiet.
See what?
Yeah, just quiet. Don't talk.
See, he doesn't want to work with Paul DeYoung. That was one of my favorite ones. Paul DeYoung has reached the point where it was snowing in the state today. Damn it, that Paul DeYoung. These people are so sick in the brain with their obsession with Paul DeYoung that it's just like if anything remotely negative goes on with the Cardinals, somehow it steers around to Paul DeYoung. So I'll shut up now, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I had to crack on some people.
I love that, though. Yeah, because, look, this is – and I'm sure all this is about he's probably about 3 weeks really into starting to get in some nuts and bolts on what the job is going to be and how that – he knows he's going to be – but it's like, whoa. And then the pull away from the family for the first time. It's a good thing for him to note now, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea. And I think part of the draw right away, because, like you said, well, he wasn't ready a couple months ago. Well, what happened was the job came open. And the reality is it may be 4 more years and maybe 3 years before the job comes open again. So I guess I better take a shot at this and then realize, this isn't good timing. I applaud the guy for making that decision. I would imagine the Cardinals would go, he's a stand-up guy to begin with. Okay, let's just step aside. We got another guy we can bring in here. Everything's fine. Don't make a big deal about it. If it was a guy who, and it doesn't matter who it is, but if it was a guy who has had issues in the past or something or wasn't reliable, that is not Matt Holliday, people. He is a stand-up professional person. So just stop with like you said, get your head out of the toilet. It's okay. No harm, no foul, and we just move on. Heck, winter warm-up hasn't happened yet, so take it easy.
If I could circle back briefly, because I wanted to give the more complete story about his family. And this is from Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch. If you want to read about all of this, Derek has updated his earlier story, which was just getting the news out, but it did include quotes from Matt Holliday. But he's got a more thorough story. Wrote kind of a second version. And Matt and Leslie Holliday, as Derek Gould tells us, go to stltoday.com and read that story. They have 4 kids. 3 of them are high school age or younger. Their oldest, Jackson, was the first overall pick in the 2022 MLB draft, which is why Holliday didn't want to coach in 2022 because he knew it was a really critical time for his son Jackson to be as ready and prepped as could be for that draft. And obviously, Matt Holliday's own coaching, it's a beautiful story if you think about it. Matt's own coaching of his son Jackson certainly was a factor in Jackson being a standout prospect that the scouts and a lot of teams really fell in love with. And what a thrill that had to be for Matt and Leslie to have their son be drafted first overall last June. So Ethan Holliday is one of the best high school baseball players in the country. He's already committed to playing for his uncle at Oklahoma State. And that's where the family is based. They're all in Stillwater, Oklahoma, to be with his brother Tom. And Matt is it's Josh Holliday. I'm sorry, Josh Holliday is the coach and the brother. Matt Holliday is an unofficial assistant coach at Oklahoma State. He doesn't get paid. He's a volunteer, but he's there quite a bit. He's heavily involved in that. So I'm actually happy for Matt because, man, it would be really, really rough if he had started. They had been in spring training. It was sometime in April, and then he would really be sitting there almost agonizing that he took the job and realizing maybe he made a mistake. I think it's better that, like we said earlier, it's a little awkward, the timing. Spring training's a month away, but the coaching staff, they'll be down there early, having a lot of meetings and just making plans and all that stuff, what they want to work on, setting their spring training regimen. It's good that he did it now rather than sort of cross that bridge into spring training where it really, really, really begins if you're a coach. So I think he did the right thing to do it now rather than let it linger. So really, as you said, Jim's really very much a stand-up guy.
Yeah, that's why I was first I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then I just thought about it for a second and Matt's a stand-up person. This is not anything to go, oh, no. It's going to work out fine. It will work out fine. Joe McEwing will be fine. We just got to get a few more pitchers that can strike guys out, and I think it'll be even better.
Now, a larger issue is, Ali Marmol did a really good job as a first-year manager, and, he was part of a coaching staff that did have Mike Maddox and Jeff Albert. And, if you look at the way the Cardinals offense performed during the regular season was very good. And you look at, he actually improved their base running. The staff definitely, they already had, actually they cultivated a really strong defense, but it was just as strong again last year. So all in all, the coaching staff and the manager worked very, very well together. And I said earlier, Ali Marmol knows everybody. So this coaching staff has undergone obviously major changes. Skip Schumacher is left to become a manager. Turner Ward was promoted to the hitting coach job, so that's not a big deal because he had a major role in that area last season. Mike Maddox moved on. I don't think anybody is weeping over that. Because he was still more old school and somewhat resistant to incorporating new methods that have worked so well for other teams. And I think the Cardinals desperately, we've talked about this a lot, really need to get caught up because their pitching approach has fallen way behind. It continues to decline. So Dusty Blake's the new pitching coach, but again, he was already part of the Cardinals coaching staff, not so much in like blaring headline names, but he had the title of pitching strategist. So he's been working with everyone anyway. And if you're worried that he's some, a know-it-all, one of those guys, so everything's going to be about advanced metric. Shh. Adam Wainwright loves him. And Waino has never been a particularly ardent fan of advanced metrics. So the fact that Dusty Blake's moving into the lead pitching coach job, look, he hasn't done that before in the majors, although he was a heralded pitching coach at Duke University. You may say, so what? The so what is they went from suet, that's what pigs eat on. They went from suet to being like the best pitching staff in the ACC, and he drew a lot of acclaim, which is why the Cardinals noticed him and brought him in a couple years ago. So Dusty Blake is a really talented guy considering a rising star, but he is a new first-time number one pitching coach in the major leagues. So you have that change, and they brought in Brandon Allen to be the assistant hitting coach. Brandon Allen's a former major league player, and Brandon Allen has worked in the Cardinals system at every level. He's part of the family. Ali knows him very well. And then you look at their bullpen coach, and for some reason I'm doing my usual thing and forgetting his name. I'll find it. But he worked as a bullpen coach for the Texas Rangers, so he's been in the big leagues at this job. And again, I think this is a guy that Ollie knows, and I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, there's a transition, and you never know how it's all going to fit together. But most of the people involved have either been Cardinals coaches, Cardinals members of the Cardinal organization from a baseball strategy or teaching standpoint. They've worked in the system. So they're new to their jobs, but they're not new to Cardinals baseball. And that even applies to an extent to Joe McEwen. Joe McEwen always keeps in touch with the Cardinals, always follows what they're doing. He loves the Cardinals. And I'm sure when he talks Saturday at the winter warm-up, that's the first time there'll be media availability for Joe McEwen, and the first time it'll be media availability for John Mozeliak to talk about this. I'm sure Joe McEwen will talk about how much this means to him, how special this is. And so I think they're going to be okay, but you never know. It's Julio Rangel. Thank you, Dave Solomon, is the new assistant pitching coach and bullpen coach. And I also think it's good to have some fresh thinking in there, and that I do believe they will have some fresh thinking in there. And I know Joe McEwen is not an anti-metrics guy, not at all. He's embraced that, and he's been into that for quite a long time. So I just wanted to lay out, maybe you call it the broader picture, because there are some questions. I mean, one of the things I would have about the Cardinals looking ahead to 2023, will this kind of pretty ambitiously revised coaching staff, even with the connections mostly in place, will that pose any kind of problem at all? Will it be distracting or disruptive? I don't believe that it will. It maybe at first, until everyone just gets into their roles and gets working comfortably. But it gets back to Ali Marmol. He's an excellent communicator. He knows what he wants. He knows what he needs from his coaches. He's very organized. So listen, all of these coaches, whatever role they're in now, they will know exactly what the plan is at all times, and they'll know exactly what their responsibilities are, and they will know exactly what the manager stands for strategically and also in personnel usage. So if Ali Marmol was some kind of wing-it manager, and he's playing golf all the time in spring training, and he's just kind of like lollygagging around, and I know what I'm doing. One of those guys. No, I mean, he's really intense about being organized and prepared, and he expects the same from his coaching staff. So everybody needs to remember that. Sorry.
Look, if you're trying to change and keep up with the times a little bit, you need a little fresh blood in there. That's a bottom line. You just can't keep running back the same thing. It's some of the things we say with the lineup and things like that with the position players. You got to do this. The same applies to your coaching and your staff. Refreshing it is not a bad thing from time to time, and now's the time to do it.
It was a little bit of a forced marriage last year when he took over unexpectedly, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he didn't want those coaches. I'm not saying that at all, but I don't think he had much of a choice, even if he would have picked someone else. I don't think that was going to happen.
Well, I also would put in there, Bernie, is that your first time, it's okay to have a few guys established. Now you're established. Let's get some of the thoughts you want in there and some people you're comfortable with.